Today is deadline for conducting party primaries, and the stage looks set for the gladiators to begin battle. And the National Security Council has blamed the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, for the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State that led to the death of scores of worshippers and left several others injured. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's get talking, everyone. So much to talk about, and our plate is so full, especially on a deadline day for primaries states. So let's get started by letting you know that it appears that some information are now coming on the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State, where scores of worshippers were killed and several others left injured. The National Security Council held a meeting today, and after the meeting, when they are briefing journalists, they blamed the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, for the attack. The Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, says that security agencies, particularly the police, have been directed to apprehend the perpetrators. The former governor said the attack has no ethnic religious connection, affirming that the group's activities has nothing to do with religion.
The council is quite concerned about the violent attack in Owo, Ondo State. I've been able to locate the perpetrators of that event, or that sad, horrendous attack. From all indications, we are zeroing in on ISWAP, the Islamic State for West Africa. It is not an ethno-religious thing. The animals in ISWAP wanting attention and recognition are suspected to have launched that attack, and we have directed all the agencies concerned to go after them and bring them to justice.
The intelligence gathered so far does not lead us to proactively foresee that ISWAP or any other person is going to strike in Owo, particularly in that church. For that, we don't have intelligence. But for following the activities of ISWAP, it is being followed and it is being nabbed in the boot in most instances. And there are times they succeed. And that does not mean it is failure of intelligence.
Part of what was also discussed and disclosed after the meeting was the security of the election to be held on the 18th of June 2022 in Osun State. That is the Osun State governorship election. And it appears about 17,000 or more police officers will be deployed. Take a listen to the plans for that election.
We are committed to maintaining law and order and providing adequate security for Nigerian citizens. Appropriate preparation is put in place for the elections coming up in Ekiti this month and Osun next month by principally Nigeria Police, supported by other security agencies and to some extent the military. That is the long and short of it. The president wants us to assure Nigerians that his administration is committed to providing adequate security and ensuring the maintenance of law and order, so that Nigerians will be able to go about their businesses, particularly farmers who want to go to their farms without any fear of attack or molestation.
All right, there. So for all of those who are not aware just yet, Channels Television will be hosting a governorship debate in partnership with the Election Situation Room. And of course, it's going to be on Sunday, the 12th of June, 2022 by 7 p.m. So stay with us right here on Channels Television. The Ekiti governorship election debate will happen right here on Channels Television, but 7 p.m. on the 12th of June, 2022. Well then, so much to talk about. There are a lot of reactions coming to Bola Tinubu's emergence as the APC presidential candidate. But what does this mean for the ruling party? What does this mean for the other political parties in the race? No doubt, APC is a ruling party, but in the end, the party will be faced with a lot of challenges and hurdles to cross. How will they cross it? First and foremost, they will have to get a running mate to Bola Tinubu. Who will that be? So with me, everyone, we get some very experienced member of the party right here on the program. And of course, another brand new presidential candidate who will be talking to us on the program. Stay with me. First and foremost, let's check out your political roundup stories.
The Independent National Electoral Commission is urging political parties to beat the deadline set for the nomination of candidates and their running mates, as only democratically elected candidates at the primaries would be recognized by the Commission. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja, where he says the INEC portal will automatically shut down on Friday, June 17 for all national elections and Friday, 15 July for all state elections.
The portal will automatically shut down at 6 p.m. on Friday, 17th June 2022 for national elections, and at 6 p.m. on Friday, 15th July 2022 for state elections.
Major Hamza Al-Mustafa has emerged as the presidential candidate of the Action Alliance. Mustafa emerged after polling a total of 506 votes to beat the only opponent in the race, Mr. Samson Odubiton, who scored 215 in an exercise conducted with option A4 voting system. Two other contestants had earlier pulled out of the race to support Major Al-Mustafa. The publisher of Sahara Reporters and convener of Take It Back movement, Omoyele Sowore, has been elected the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, for the 2023 general election. Mr. Sowore was unanimously elected without opposition by members of the party at its national primary election, which took place in Abuja. Kehinde Shogunle, a former commissioner for finance in Ogun State, has been elected the governorship candidate of the Labour Party. He emerged through affirmation by the 100 delegates from the 20 local government areas of the state, as the second aspirant, Boyega Ijola, was conspicuously absent at the event held at the Nigeria Labour Congress State Secretariat in Abeokuta, the state capital.
When we all bring up them on it, and with all of us that are here, we are going to create what we call better economies, better communities, better environment, and better government.
Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State is advising minority ethnic groups in the state to mobilize and advocate for rotational governorship in the state to address alleged political domination by majority groups. Mr. Otom gave this advice in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, while meeting with the Benue Rebirth Movement, a pressure group pushing for equitable power distribution among the various ethnic nationalists in the state.
The agitation by Nigerians that the issue of governorship, the issue of presidency, should be enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for rotation.
Legal luminary Afeba Balola believes his fears that led to his call for an interim government has been justified, saying recent presidential primaries of some big political parties have not produced any new face. But Balola had advocated suspension of the 2023 general election and the drafting of a new constitution by an interim government so as to straighten things and stop the recycling of same crop of people in power.
We are owing trillions of dollars as debt. The new man who is coming to me should take advantage of the fact that we now know that we have so much money circulating in this country.
Youths in Taraba State have described as unsatisfactory the Not Too Young to Run Act signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari, as a youth are urging exclusion from the political participation by the two major political parties, APC and the PDP. The youths in their numbers, including former aide to Governor Ishaku, who decamped to African Action Congress, say they have been used without any positive outcome and have decided to take their destinies into into their hands.
The youth have realized that they have been used without any outcome. They have been used for no any good outcome. And now they are coming back to work with us so that we'll make it our own youth o'clock. Things will work in our own way.
Thank you so much. Let's tell you that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, is promising to fight corruption head-on if elected as president of Nigeria in 2023. Atiku Abubakar said this earlier today when he was meeting with some of the chieftains of the party.
I will not be prepared to tolerate any form of corruption whatsoever in the next PDP. I think you have a role to play here because you are leading lights in your respective communities, your respective units, and so on and so forth. Yes, we know that the entire country is going through poverty, but that does not mean that we should condemn this country to a perpetual corrupt country. We have to reform this country for the sake of our own survival and the survival of the country itself.
There you have it. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC, led by its national chairman, Senator Abdullah Adamu, has visited the party's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in Abuja to congratulate him and give us assurance that the party leadership will work assiduously to deliver him as president of Nigeria in 2023. Meanwhile, more reactions have continued to trail the emergence of Bola Tinubu as the presidential candidate of the APC. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, today congratulated Tinubu on his victory at the All Progressives Congress presidential primary. He also called for unity among APC members, saying Tinubu's sterling contributions to democracy stood him out. In the same vein, a former transportation minister and the runner-up at the presidential primary, Rotimi Amechi, has also congratulated Bola Tinubu for his margins as the presidential candidate of the APC. In a statement he personally signed, Amechi became second pledge to support Tinubu in ensuring that the APC maintains its grip on power next year. A lot of things the APC will have to sort out and are to resolve, especially in relation to Bola Tinubu's emergence as the presidential candidate of the APC. Part of it will be the running mate, which of course may be from the northern region of the country. But which of the zones of the northern region will the presidential running mate come from? That's a very big question. The PDP is also meeting and consulting and trying to decipher how they will pick a running mate. The trouble to pick a running mate will also come on the laps of the APC. How they deal with it is one thing that they need to figure out. I'm being joined tonight by a very strong administrator, party administrator of the APC, and a former secretary to the government of the Federation. I'm being joined by Mr. Babachi Lawal. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
You were one of those who picked funds for Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
Who paid 100 million naira. How much of that did you contribute, though? Because I know you and Faleke were the ones who went to pick that fund for Tinubu.
None. Was just supposed to go. I think Bola Tinubu must have paid for it himself.
Okay.
We were just supposed to go and pick it for him.
But I mean, how does it feel now picking the form for him? And now, I mean, you look back and you were one of those who picked that form and gave it to him. Now he's won the party ticket. How does it feel?
Well, I'm elated. I'm one of those who have been on this project for more than 5-6 years.
Really?
Yes, I've been.
You've been pushing for Tinubu to be
yes.
a presidential candidate.
Even when
he
was
APC.
Governor, I've known Bola Tinubu long before he became governor, but even when he was governor, we knew that he had the capacity to rule this country, and it would be good if he were to rule this country. So from that day,
we moved on.
So 5, 6 years ago, you've been working. Who are those on your team working on this?
Well, almost everybody that has been a Bola Tinubu protege has been working with us on this. Quite a number of people also that have known him as his friends have been working on him all these years. And it's a culmination of our efforts and prayers and fasting and praying that has resulted in yesterday's victory. Are you a protege or a friend to Bola Tinubu? Both. Oh, no, I'm a friend. You're not a protege? No, I'm not. You didn't learn under him? No, I didn't. You are just friends. Where did you cut your teeth politically? Me? Yeah. My state. I'm from Adamawa State. No, I know, but I mean, there are a lot of people who say, oh, they have the Rimi, they learned their political, whatever, under the Rimi, they also under Lawal. I mean... No, nobody mentored me in politics. What happened with me was when things were not beginning to be satisfactory for me in politics, I ran into a group of people discussing who would best be salvage the situation, and we settled on Muhammadu Buhari, who was then not interested in politics, and we, organized a forum of discussions, nudged some influential people to convince him to contest the election. Eventually he did, and being one of those who felt at the beginning that he should try his hand on it, it was incumbent on me to participate to help make him the president that he is today. So you were instrumental in Buhari becoming president of Nigeria? Well, yes, I could claim to be so. I mean, is it a fact, or, I mean... It's a fact. It's a fact because even at the beginning, when the Buhari campaign organization was formed, I was a member, I was an official in the Adamawa State wing. So to that effect, and I grew up until by the year 2011, I was one of the major stakeholders in that project. And when Bola Tinubu spoke about Buhari in Abeokuta, I mean, that statement went viral, and a lot of people were talking about. You voiced that, and you probably had a thinking that maybe you shouldn't have said so. Yes, I did. I didn't like it. First of all, I repeat that I didn't like his claim that he was the only one instrumental to Buhari being president. I mean, when did he join the Buhari bandwagon? It was just maybe around 2011 when we started talk of merger with ACN. Before then, Buhari had contested, I think, 3 elections. People were there who contributed their efforts, resources, physical and material, in all those elections. So to a certain extent, they were the founders of the Buhari presidency. They laid the foundation for this presidency. Bola probably joined in the middle. Quite a number of people lost their lives in the several campaigns to make Buhari president. Quite a number of people sold their property to be able to contribute to Buhari being a president. So no one person can claim that he was the major instrument for Buhari being president. Of course, in that regard, the importance of the roles played can be graded. He could be at one of the top of it, but not necessarily the only one. When you look back, who would you say was fundamentally instrumental to Buhari coming out to politics in the first place? Can you remember anyone whom you would say, this person, if not for him, Buhari wouldn't have come out? No, but I know that ab initio, the key leaders of the first foray of Buhari into politics were Sule Hama was there. I think he was the Director General of the Buhari organizations, which was the bedrock of Buhari presidency. We virtually ran the 2023 election, 2003, and so on and so forth. So Sule Haman was quite at the top of it. I know that, again, by the time we didn't make it in AMPP, we formed the CPC. There again, somebody like Buba Galadima was the secretary of the party. Quite a lot of people, very many that played major roles in it. And some are alive, some are not alive. From the CPC, the likes of Pastor Tunde Bakare is still
friends with. Did you ever wish that someone like Tunde Bakare may have succeeded Buhari?
No, I didn't. I mean, my inclination was Pastor Tunde Bakare should remain a pastor because I'm.
You're a pastor yourself?
Oh, yes.
Or you were a pastor?
I am a qualified pastor. I am a theologian.
But you're not a practicing pastor?
No, I'm not. I'm a practicing engineer.
All right. So, Pastor Tunde Bakare was never in the picture to succeed in. Was there any kind of arrangement?
Well, after 2011, when we had merger talks with the ACN, it didn't work. And at that time, you remember, Buhari had this togad of being a religious bigot, and we found it very difficult to convince the Christian community to support him. It was thought to help the issues if he got somebody like Tunde Bakare to become his vice president. Frankly, I didn't know how the president came about picking Tunde Bakare, but he was picked, and we went into that election with him, and he didn't contribute much to the election process because we didn't win.
I mean, you had referred to, and I'll probably come to one or two points about the arrangement and the formation of the APC, whether promises were made and whether promises were kept. Was there any promise that Bola Tinubu was going to succeed Buhari?
Let me tell you, in politics, there are various layers of structures of influences and organizations. And you can only know at best your own role and the role you play in your own team. I've come to realize that quite a number of people contribute to so many things. From my own angle, I did say in one of my write-ups that after 2007, when Buhari lost, going to 2011, we realized that we could not, there's no way Buhari could be president for as long as the votes only come from the north, no matter how large it is, because the constitutional requirement is that apart from a simple majority, there must be a geographical spread. To me, that's to say that you must get at least 1/4 of the votes in at least 24 states of the federation. The northern Nigeria is only 19 states, and that fell short with about 5. So we realized that it is important to spread out to other regions. And in doing that, we looked at the regions outside the north, south, south, southeast, southwest. For it to work, we needed a region that can come with block votes. I mean, it will not help us if we go to southeast and then we get only 3 states, 1/4 and 3 states, or south. And so we focused on the southwest, where they have the tendency to vote block. They go where their leaders tell them to go. And that influenced our decision to reach out to the southwest. And of course, at that time, you talk politics of southwest, you are talking Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Outside the PDP, which was then Goodluck was then in power, and we felt that we could challenge the PDP in the southwest. So, and who else do we get to? There were only 2 people that we could reach out to, Chief Bise Akande and Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And so they agreed for us to start merger talks, and it became successful. But as to, on my own side, because by then also, truthfully, I was already long-term friends with Ashwaji Bola Tinubu, and that's why I say we started this project long.
So there was no promise to Bola Tinubu that he was going to succeed Buhari, because Bola Tinubu has said it's been his lifelong ambition to be Nigeria's president.
Well, if there were any promises, it had to be between the 2 of them. But one thing I know, at that time, by the time we got to 2014, Buhari had emerged as a presidential candidate for APC, for the then new APC. There was the need to carry the Southwest along. Because as we said, why did we go into the merger to start with? So we can get Southwest votes to add to the Northern votes. And to do that, you might need to incentivize them. And It's common knowledge that General Buhari offered to make Bola Tinubu the vice president. And in any case also, we realize that as politicians, the Southwest might be interested in getting a foot into the door. Buhari were to finish his 8 years, and the Southwest had a vice president. It just might be easy for them to move up to the presidency.
So the thinking, the inclination was there from the get-go?
The inclination was there from the beginning that the Southwest might inherit the presidency after Buhari's North had finished.
But you attributed Bola Tinubu's statement in Abeokuta, and you tagged it an arrogant assumption. Do you still think so?
I still think so.
No one shouldn't have said that.
He shouldn't have said that.
Did you speak with him about it?
Oh, I will speak about it. I mean, he has read it, he knows about it, and we laughed over it. Yeah, we know each other quite well, and we laughed over it. I'm sure he understood what I was saying.
But as it stands right now, Buhari tried 3 times. On the 4th time, he got lucky. Do you think Tinubu might be lucky for the first time? His first shot at wanting to be Nigeria's president. He said it's his lifelong ambition. He has assisted, he has worked and supported a lot of people. He supported Atiku Abubakar. He supported Nuhu Ribadu. He supported Muhammadu Buhari. This time around, it's going to be about his 4th or 5th time of getting into the ring by himself the 1st time, 5th or 4th time by proxy. Could Tinubu be lucky for the 1st time?
We hope he will. We can only hope and then work towards it. Whether he makes it or not at this stage, only God knows. But we will work towards it. And we believe that we have the instruments, we have the resources, both material and intellectual, to deliver Bola Tinubu as the president. And
How is he perceived and received in the North?
Tinubu is a very good man anywhere. He's a very kind man. And you need to hear some of the people he has helped out in the political logjam. So many all over the country. He has sponsored people in Taraba, in Adamawa, in Gombe. You know, he's somebody that has been helpful to almost every politician across the country. I know this.
Yeah.
I know this.
And it's public knowledge that his tentacles and his network is as deep like the Iroko tree. Yes. Down the soil.
Yes.
But the question is whether or not you are from Atiku Abubakar is your kinsman.
It's my state.
Yeah, he's your kinsman. Maybe because you're from Adamawa.
That's right.
You can describe him as such.
Yeah, he is. I call him my elder brother.
Okay. So, I mean, how easy, how difficult is it for Tinubu to go head-to-head with an Atiku Abubakar, whom he also supported in the ACN as presidential candidate?
We are there, and we are the ones from Adamawa that will deliver Bola Tinubu. In the same way we delivered Buhari even while Atiku was contesting. You know, in the same way Adamawa delivered Goodluck Jonathan while Atiku was contesting. So it's not a new thing. We have our tentacles all over the state. It's our state. We know our own tendencies, and we know how to. Bola Tinubu will win Adamawa State.
But Fintiri whipped you out of prominence in Adamawa.
Who?
Fintiri, Governor Fintiri.
Let me tell you, Adamawa politics was very complex. Adamawa politics is very, very complex. By the time of this last election, we were fed up with our governor. You know, these political parties have a way of presenting to the electorate candidates, 2 candidates. Whether you vote or not, one of them will emerge, isn't it? That's how it is. And the state, as at that time, was fed up with its governor, and the party at that time was fractured. And so either you don't want to vote and you let anybody to vote, but eventually Fintiri didn't whip us per se. And we've organized ourselves, and we think that we are prepared to take it over because he has not performed well. He has not behaved the manner we expected him to behave, and so he will pay him back for what he has done.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, I'd like you to tell us whether or not your party is ready for a Muslim ticket. How will you solve that riddle when you get to that bridge? You are at that bridge and you need to make that decision because you need to submit your list to INEC. And that decision is staring your party in the face, especially those of you who are close to Bola Tinubu. But I'll ask that question when we return from this break. Stay with us, everyone. Our closing moment with Mr. Babachi Lawal continues after this break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our closing moment now with former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Babachi Lawal. You had said that the Northern Christians have been marginalized. Do you think that this is the time for that marginalization to be eradicated or to be stopped, or they should be incentivized? You view that statement today, that English, and I'm hoping that I will use it to ask questions from you. Any incentive for the Northern Christians?
No, well, I'll answer this question in a roundabout way. A political party is in the business of winning elections. Mm-hmm. Now, and to win elections, you need to get the votes to beat your opponent. Now, the way I see it is in choosing your vice president, that must be paramount in your mind. You can have the best ticket, and if you don't win the election, it's a waste of time. So whatever candidate we are going to choose, we will bear in mind that that vice president would contribute to winning that election. How does he contribute? Either because he's popular and he can bring in the votes, or he can bring in the money that will help our logistics in getting out the votes, so we can win the election. But then there's also the requirement that you want to run a united country. You want to run a country in which you don't have friction in the society, peaceful, settled, and everybody going about his own business. To that extent, you must factor in Nigeria's peculiarities in politics. That is why, for example, in recognition of our own peculiarities, the northern governors and the majority of us in the north felt that the presidency ought to shift to the south. It's not a requirement in the constitution that it has to shift. There's no zoning. But it's so we can have a country that is united, that everybody can go about doing his own business in a peaceful environment. It could have been possible for a northern candidate to emerge, but then he will know that running the country in that manner will make the southern part of Nigeria, hostile to that government. So allowed it to shift. Now, extending that consideration to the Muslim ticket, I live among the Christians, and I know that among the Christians, the question of Muslim ticket is a no-go area. It's dead on arrival. Buhari himself, even at that time, had to drop this present presidential candidate because of that tension about Muslim ticket. And we have not seen anything in the country that has changed significantly to allow that to happen. On the contrary, it has worsened. The religious divide has increased, tribal divisions have increased, regional divisions have increased. So it will be a good thing if APC will settle for a Muslim Christian ticket, because we know PDP, that's what they will do. That's what they will do.
But it's tricky for your party because a Christian Muslim from the north might be a tough chew.
Why?
At the election. That's a perception, and it's an age-long perception about winning election in Nigeria. You said it. Some of the facts and the realities of winning election is that ethnicity and religion, they play a major role. As sad as that may be, they are captured in the consideration for who becomes president. Yeah. You are Babacha, David Lawal. Yes. For emphasis, David. You are a pastor and you're a Christian.
Yes.
My guest yesterday said there is a possibility of a northeastern running mate to Bola Tinubu. Could you be the person?
I'm not in the running for it. God has not told me to aspire to that position.
Does God tell you everything you do?
Yeah, you should be able to, if you've reached the level of Christianity that I do, you should be able to see God's opinion on everything you do, and you get the indication.
That's a good thing. I mean, for every believer, every person of faith, you should seek God's counsel.
Yeah.
But the question is, what if Bola Tinubu wants you to be his running mate? Would you accept it?
I will consider it.
But is this something that you think is good for you?
I've been in government before, and I have not seen any personal merit or advantage to me in being in government. Since I left government, I've had a very good life. I'm basically a business person, and I've lived well. As you can see, I used to look twice this size when I was in government, obese, unable to move, unable to think. But now I'm happy, my children are happy, and I'll be wary to distort my present equilibrium.
Could you think that, you're a lawyer, I presume.
Engineer.
You're an engineer, sorry. And the Nigerian legal system says that you are not guilty until you're proven guilty.
Yeah.
The grass cutting, the 500 million naira grass cutting contract to Roller Vision you're campaigning, do you think that may have tainted your image? And perhaps is one thing that you may be thinking may stop you from thinking, or has stopped you from public, you being the way and manner you have been perceived in public?
No. If on the contrary, it has had enlarged my profile. On the contrary.
The corruption allegation?
Oh, yes, on the contrary.
How is that?
Well, the thing is in court, but I've pleaded not guilty, and I believe I'm not guilty. And a lot of Nigerians, everywhere I go, they know it was a setup, and it was very clear. And
you think someone set you up?
Oh, I know some people set me up.
Who are those behind it?
I won't tell you, but I know, and they know that I know. Some of them have confessed.
That they set you up?
Yes.
But morally speaking, I mean, could someone be in power and be able also to influence contract to his company that is beneficial to him or her?
I don't want to, should I comment on this? It's illegal, but I can tell you, I don't know whether it's legal or not for me to comment, but let me tell you, it was trial by media by you people. Before I got into government on the 31st, I think, on the 31st of August, I had called a friend of mine, a lawyer, a very senior lawyer, to advise me on what to do. And he says, first of all, you should resign from your companies. I was chairman, I was member of board for 16 companies. So at that time, I was managing director of one. So that same day, I think, on a Thursday, while I was to be sworn in on a Monday, I wrote a letter of resignation to all those companies. I instructed my lawyers to disengage me from the Corporate Affairs Commission, documented, written, and even the fees paid for. We had a board resolution sent to the banks, delisting me as a signatory to the accounts. All these are documented, they are there for anyone to see. But in politics, nobody was interested in all those things. Now, what did happen therefore was that the company of which I was a managing director eventually, unknown to me, got a contract as consultants to supervise a project where it's called, they now call it grass cutting. It was not grass cutting. It was not grass cutting.
What is it?
The contract was, and we had been doing that job for the World Bank long before I became SGF. You see, there's these rivers around the Lake Chad that feed the Lake Chad. Because of the nature of the environment, there's this type of grass, we call it taifa grass. When they grow up to above human height, and their roots are very strong, and they mesh. They live on water. When they grow like this, what they therefore do is they stop the water from flowing, and the water starts to overflow its banks. This has many consequences. Number one consequence, it floods the farmlands along the riverbank. And that was one of the areas where the federal government had invested a lot of money on irrigation for wheat farming. But that grass, having overflooded its banks, prohibited farming, navigation, because of course you can no longer.
So the amount for the contract is justified.
Nobody questions the amount of the contract, what it was not done. The contract for my former company was 7.2 million naira consultancy for that project.
Is the morality around it, whether or not your company as an SGF should...
I had retired. I had resigned from the company. When you resign from the company doesn't liquidate.
Oh, I think we should leave that for the court to decide.
Yes.
But I must sincerely thank you, former SGF, Babachi Lawal. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, we can tell you that there are more presidential candidates that have emerged. Take a look at those who have joined the race, aside the PDPs and the APCs, and of course, and the Labour Party. We now have other political parties that have elected their presidential candidate. Okay, of course, you see from the AA to the AAC to the SGP, and of course, Labour Party. All of these have elected their presidential candidates, and of course, NNPP and that of the APGA and YPP, all of them captured. I think we have more, but of course, in the, maybe in the next few hours, we may be able to update and populate them as the case may be. And so that is what we have for today. Of course, it didn't emerge today, it emerged yesterday. One of the voices of the third force in Nigerian political scene has now emerged as a presidential candidate of the SGP. Is Adewale Adebayo, the presidential candidate of the SGP. He now joins us live in our studio here. Thanks so much, Mr. Adebayo, for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And congratulations on your emergence.
Thank you very much.
Which of the factions do you belong?
There's no faction.
There are factions in the SDP.
No, there's no faction. There are disagreements, but there's no faction. INEC recognizes only one executive, and in all the elections we've been doing, we've always been selling only one candidate. And I think people just trying to make some media thing out of that.
Why do you politicians blame the media for all your troubles? I mean, when something happens, the media is a reflection, is a mirror of what is happening. We don't concoct. The only major role that the Constitution has given the media is to be on the necks of those who are in power and report them to the public. Whatever happens in your political party, we report them. But you always blame us when we report them. You don't want the public to know.
No, it may be because some of us have a high opinion of the media. We expect that, for example, the media will do more research. If there is a primary, you ask INEC, which party, how is it done? So things like that, so that you don't... If I just announce on this channel now that I'm the OB of Onitsha, I think you shouldn't even just repeat it.
No, from a platform like this, those kind of things don't happen.
Exactly.
When we challenge people on what they say, if they're not factual, I've had to disagree with people. My job is not to disagree with people. My job is to get my viewers who are watching and who trust this platform for the kind of information that come. I disagree with people. I challenge them on the fact they bring forward. If I do, at the present time, at the moment we're talking, if it doesn't meet the standard of the facts that we needed. But it's fact that Mr. Shonibari has come out to say what the former I'm trying to remember the man who sat on your primary today. He was a former governorship candidate in Ondo State.
Agunloye did not sit on a primary. We had a national convention in which the former governor of Ekiti State, Segun Oni, is the chairman of the convention.
Of the convention, yeah.
And the chairman of the electoral committee was Dr. Umar Ado. So it's nothing to do with any... And INEC was led by the publicity commissioner for INEC, Festus Okoye, whom we all know. Those are the three critical officials. The chairman of the convention, Segun Oni, the chairman of the electoral commission, Dr. Umar Ado, and INEC, represented by Festus Okoye, who is not a flippant person. INEC will not go to primary that is not recognized by law.
I mean, INEC is the mediator, is then the middle and coordinates all of it. So, of course, when and it's in the power of INEC to determine from which of this leadership that is right to administer is the national leadership of the party that coordinates governorship primaries. Well, it's good for us to get clarification because
that's important.
And it's also good because when you say that research and all of that, but when people come out with their own fact, another person come out with their own fact, it's incumbent on us to get all the parties involved to say, what do you have? What do you have? Then they'll probably be able to discern.
You know, nomination for the presidency of Nigeria is a serious constitutional business. And the INEC is, I think, is the party we should listen to. INEC is the regulator. So you cannot run a bank without a license from the central bank. You cannot run a political party without a license from INEC. And I think media should be guided by that. But in a country where the law allows for freedom of expression, anybody can create factions or ideas or notions or groups. But when it comes to the business of electing the president, the Electoral Act should guide us on the Constitution.
Congratulations on your emergence.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that.
You're on the same bill with the likes of Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and the rest. And you are one of those who are speaking loudly about a third force. Is the SDP the real third force?
I think so. He's the leader of the third force, it's very clear. And we're talking to our brothers and sisters in the third force. I believe with this long period of transition, we would inch closer to having a stronger third force family. You know, I've been leading in the third force. I've been talking to different parties. And I think now that everyone has done their primaries, then the discussion will continue. The third force will win the election, and the SDP will be the head.
So the Labour Party is also there, Peter Obi, and the likes of Pat Utomi, had joined Labour Party, ran against Peter Obi. So the question is, which is really the third force? Because in the minds of some Nigerians who are your followers and monitoring the third force, who those who do not like the APC or the PDP and they were looking for alternative, were looking to the third force, and Pat Utomi had gone to Labour Party, you were in the third force, you had gone to the SDP. Is it not confusing for those?
No, it's not confusing. When we met, we wanted to form one political party, but the timeline did not allow for that. Merger is also easily complicated. We decided that we should come together and get at the leadership of the parties. But it was getting difficult because it looks like each party wanted to do its primaries. Now it's been done, and you see that you will know whether a party can lead the third force by the kind of person they choose. Labour Party cannot lead the third force because the person they choose is not a third force person. It's a PDP person. So that automatically they're out. So they will have to now, the elements within the Labour Party, maybe they have chosen Pat Utomi, we can say they're serious about the third force, but you don't, imagine if we had gone to choose Bola Tinubu and we still pretend to be a third force. That would be a scandal.
What's wrong with Bola Tinubu?
Because he's part of the APC, he's part of the problem, and he cannot say therefore, because he's having a problem in his party, 1 week later, he becomes a third force. Peter Obi is not third force. He's a nice guy. I don't have any problem with him, but he's not third force. We should not be fooled easily. It's not third force. It's a PDP man who got disappointed in his primaries. That doesn't make you a third force. So, Peter, I can recognize Moralu as a third force. Unfortunately, ADC threw him out. I can recognize Pat Utomi very well as third force, but I think the third force leadership, we're going to choose one of us, genuine third force. It's not going to be...
How are you going to achieve this? Because now you look at it, if you can put up that that information about the presidential candidate once again, so our viewers can see. Of course, we have Mr. Adewale, Adebayo's face is also prominently featured, so you can see on that screen, Ibrahim, Adewale Adebayo of the SDP, Yabaji Sani, and Omoyele Sowore. Is Omoyele Sowore part of the third force too?
He is part of the third force, even though a very vociferous type, but he's the third force. Because he's one of those who have a view of the alternative. He belongs to the alternative, and that's the issue. You may disagree with him on the degree or the extreme of issues, but it's a third force. And
there is maybe Kachuku there also, the ADC, because the third force were looking to ADC.
I think ADC... Well, I cannot go into the internal affairs, but I think if they wanted to be third force, they know who the third force people are. But Kachiku can say because he's not been in government before, but he doesn't have third force views. I think politics should be based on beliefs, not just the label you borrow for one day. So I think that, but it's not my party, so they have their choice, they know what they are doing. But at the third force, Yabaji is third force. We'll be holding the meetings, we know ourselves.
Is it because those who are aligning with you are attending your meetings? That's the reason? Because there are politicians, those who have failed, those who are aggrieved that have joined your third force group. Because what exactly distinguishes someone from being a third force? And in fact, is that third force really acceptable to Nigerians? Is it seen as a real alternative? The
third force is where a majority of Nigerians believe in. Because why do you say so? Because they are disappointed in the two ruling parties. So then they want a third way. Now, the third force, my definition of it is that before you got disappointed personally, you will have chosen to exit the two parties and be on the third force and try to build a new platform. You cannot just crash in the third force because you were kicked out of your conservative or mainstream politics. That's the point I'm making. Right. The third force is not someone who is trying to look for foreign shopping for ticket. No, right. You have to belong to that movement right from time.
You are a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
By training.
Yes.
And you own Kaftan TV, a media setup.
Yeah.
Aside that, what do you bring to the table? Why should Nigerians look to you as the next president that they should vote for?
Well, what I bring to the table is, one, a grasp of the issues. And when interviews like this go on, you will know whether I know what the presidential issues are in the country, whether I know how to be the head of state of Nigeria, to know the complexity of the countries, whether I can be an effective chief executive. I've been an effective chief executive all my life, all my working life. Whether I can be a commander-in-chief, whether I understand security, whether I understand safety of people, whether I can manage Nigeria's critical security infrastructure, whether I can do diplomacy, whether I have the energy, the vigor, and the intellect, and whether I have compassion for the people, and I know, and I'm honest, I can manage resources very well. Those are the things people should look at, and I think I have those, and I've demonstrated that in my life. And in the course of this campaign, people will understand what I've done. There are many, if you're in private life, unlike if you're in politics and you're hugging the camera every day, those of us who are in private life, we work quietly. I've worked in Nigeria, I've worked overseas, I practiced law overseas. I've been in agriculture, I've been in finance. I own a research institute that has produced medicine for sickle cell and other diseases. I have those who are in the pharmaceutical industry know me very well. If you ask people like Professor Uwu and Co., I've done a lot of research, I've sponsored research. So I've done things very seriously, right. Very capable.
So you think you are the best man for the job?
I think I'm the best man for the job now in this country, 2023.
Well, the campaign is going to be a long stretch, and perhaps we'll be seeing more of your face, not only on your TV, probably on the rostrum, where you'll be campaigning to Nigerians. And I wish you the very best. I think it's the beginning. Mr. Adewale Adebayo, presidential candidate of the SDP, thank you so much indeed for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That's our show for today. Don't forget, the Ekiti governorship debate is on the 12th of June 2022, live from Ado Ekiti on Channels Television, 7 p.m. Keep it in with us. That's our show. Bye for now, everyone.